Record. All right, here we are, Java, day one. So, Java fundamentals. So for today, the assignments for today are first Java program, Cafe Java, Cafe Business Logic, puzzling, and the map of the, how do you say that? Hashmatique, I guess? I don't know. Whatever. So if you go to this, each of these are links to my GitHub repositories for these assignments. So if you click on one of them, it'll take you to the repository. I've set up the code for you. So if you want to use this, you're welcome to. If you want to try to do it on your own, that's fine too. Couple things though, once you have Java installed, I'm going to do like one demo using Visual Studio Code, and then I want you to start using one of the other IDEs today. The platform doesn't introduce it until like, I think Wednesday, but I want you to start getting used to it as soon as possible because it's a little bit different, a little bit tricky. So there's two options. There's the platform recommends STS. I find it very difficult to use. You may not have that experience, but I did. So what I will be teaching with is the IntelliJ IDEA. Full screen. So if you go to the platform, to the schedule, under helpful links, I have links to the two IDEs. So you can use the Eclipse or IntelliJ. Eclipse is STS, right? So the STS IDE they recommend, it's basically built on top of Eclipse. I've found it better to actually use Eclipse and install the STS plugin. That just worked better for me. But if you want to try to experiment with, whatever works for you is fine. I recommend IntelliJ. I just found it really intuitive, really easy to use. Code completion's awesome. The problem with IntelliJ is there's a community version that's free, but it doesn't support what we need to do. So there's the ultimate version, which is a paid version. I think it's like $100 a year to use it, right, to subscription. But they have a 30-day free trial. Okay, so if you want to just use the 30-day free trial, you'll have plenty of time to use it throughout this course. And if you hate it and you never want to look at Java again, I hope you don't feel that way, but you can just use the trial. Yes. Both. I haven't tried to do the platform with Visual Studio Code. I heard from CISO and Ed that it's not possible, so I believe them. So I didn't even try it. You can try it, but they do have an STS or a Spring Boot extension on VS Code, but I've heard it just doesn't have what we need. Eclipse will work. Eclipse is fine. Eclipse is free. If you want to use Eclipse is great. I have nothing against Eclipse. I just think I found IntelliJ easier to use. So whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. I think it is. It's free. Yeah, I think it's like $100 a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so download one of these. Again, I would recommend doing the assignments for today in one of these IDEs, just to get used to it, just to become accustomed to it, okay? Because there is a learning curve. It's not very steep, but it's not, we've been used to Visual Studio Code, which is kind of hold your hand. These don't. So pick your poison, pick either Eclipse or IntelliJ and start using it. Okay. Oh, is it really? Yeah. And there's also a plugin that we need that's also paid, but it also has a 30-day free trial. So yeah.
So what are the free versions? Is Eclipse and
Eclipse is totally free. Yeah, Eclipse is fine. Eclipse will be fine. I'm just talking about my personal preference. So you don't have to do what I do, right? I'm gonna do my demos using IntelliJ just because I'm more comfortable with it, but you can use whatever. Yes, sir. You should just be able to take the defaults and yeah. I am. Didn't I record? I'm recording. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me though. Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
which design of certain clips that like there's other things like yeah, I mean because
There's
a link.
yeah. There's one Eclipse IDE. It's just different versions of Eclipse for different. You can do like Python in Eclipse and. All right. Where am I? I'll just use the online one, whatever. Okay. So again, so today's assignments, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So how do we write hello? Did anybody read the platform? I'm guessing that all the people who were installing today, not many people read it. That's okay. Yeah. I'm not judging. I'm just yeah. So if we want to write hello world in Java, right? Well, in Python, how do we do it? Print hello world, right? But in Java, it's a little more complicated. So we have to have a class. Java is purely object-oriented. You cannot have anything that's not in a class. Okay, so if you create a file, if my class name is main, then my file name is main.java. Just has to be that way, okay? So the class main, what else do I need if I want to write hello world? We need sysout, but before sysout, we need public static void main, blah, 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 right? So Java is a compiled language, meaning we write our code, it gets packaged into bytecode, and then we run it. Whereas with Python, we just write the code and run it, right? Because it's interpreted. It does it as it's running. Java has to be compiled into bytecode. So what is the advantage of that? Why do we compile to bytecode? So the computer knows how to run it, yeah. What's faster? Interpreted or compiled? Compiled by a lot. So Java is much, much faster. It's a compiled language. Compiled languages are just faster than interpreted. Okay, so inside the entry point is always going to be this function. So this main function will run automatically whenever we run our program. So we basically put everything we want to run inside of our main entry point. Just like server.py was the entry point for Python, whatever our main class is will be the entry point for our application. So, and like Daniel said, it's system.out.println, hello world. Okay.
When I typed it, after I typed hello world, on top it gave my file name, package, whatever.
Yeah.
So I didn't put it there, but
it does it automatically. Yeah, that's fine. But we'll talk about packages a little later. Yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of acronyms in Java. These are just some of them. So the way Java works is you need to install a JDK, which most of you did this morning. The JDK is the Java Development Kit. Okay, that includes, well, basically that's what we need in order to write Java programs. The JDK includes the JRE, which is the Java Runtime Environment, which includes the JVM, which is the Java virtual machine. The Java virtual machine works like an adapter. So the phrase or the acronym in Java is WARA, write once, run anywhere. So that any computer, whether it's Linux, Apple, Windows, as long as it has the Java virtual machine, code you write on any other platform will run on that computer. Doesn't need to be recompiled, or you don't need to compile 3 different or 4 different versions of your app of your software for each operating system. It's write once, run anywhere. So as long as the Java virtual machine is on the machine you want to run your code on, it will run. So it works as sort of like an adapter. Travel to Europe and you have the funny. They have different outlets. They have different outlets than we have. They have to plug in an adapter. That's what the Java virtual machine is. Okay, so don't worry about memorizing these terms. Just know that this is basically the way Java works. Questions so far? All right, so let's do a demo.